Thank you for coming on the program. I appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here, Brian. We all have to do our part in these dreadful, dreadful days in Washington.
What is the most dreadful part about it for you?
Well, the most dreadful part is that we have a president who does not respect our system of government, who does not understand our government, who's not interested in understanding our government, who believes that the Constitution is a menu from which he can choose only the most delectable items, who disdains career bureaucrats, who doesn't respect the Constitution. So, I mean, that's one thing, but the evil twin of that is that I believe, as a former Russia analyst for most of my career, and having worked directly with Russian intelligence services, I am convinced that the President of the United States is enthralled to Vladimir Putin. There's no other way to explain his behavior, and he perfectly fits the profile of the kind of people the Russians target. So when it comes to worries, you know, Trump gives us something new to worry about virtually every day, but it's important not to lose sight of the overall picture, is that this is a distinctly un-American president who really doesn't seem to like America very much, certainly doesn't respect it, and he's a president who appears to be enthralled to a foreign power, a hostile foreign power. I mean, this is unbelievable to me. I could never have foreseen this. I was a pretty good analyst, made a lot more good calls than bad calls. I never could have foreseen this, to use a cliched word, this Orwellian situation.
When you sound the alarm the way you're doing right now, do you worry that it has the opposite effect of your intent? That you actually scare people off or make them tune out by saying such harsh things about the president?
No, I don't worry about it, because I refuse to calculate what I say based on who it might please or who might displease. We've got plenty of that in Washington. What we need is people who will speak honestly and say what they believe and not worry about who it offends. I am just sick and tired of people hedging and hemming and hawing. This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the republic. And Brian, look, the only reason I am here today on this show, or any show, isn't because I'm enamored with the chance to be on television. It's because, again, we all need to do our part. These are parlous times. It is not hyperbole to say that this man and his henchmen and henchwomen constitute a real threat to our republic. We will survive it, but there is real damage.
How much do you blame your former network, Fox News? You have called it a destructive propaganda machine when you resigned earlier this year. Are they partly at fault for propping up Trump?
Well, certainly they're, of course. I mean, I left Fox because as a former military officer who took an oath to the Constitution, I could not be part of a channel that, to me, was assaulting the Constitution, the constitutional order, the rule of law. But that said, Fox isn't immoral, it's amoral. It was opportunistic. Trump was just a gift to Fox, and Fox, in turn, is a gift to Trump. And as you observed earlier, it's a closed loop. And so people that only listen to Fox have an utterly skewed view of reality. And by the way, you know, earlier some of your guests were describing Trump world, you know, in terms of Republicans. The Republican Party's gone, or at least it's dormant. What we see now, the people supporting Trump are radicals, these couch potato anarchists. They're people that don't have a program to make America great again. And by the way, America's great right now. Rather, they're destructive. They want to tear things down. They want vengeance. And Trump is brilliant at that. He's done what autocrats and charlatans and false messiahs who have throughout history have done. He's told his core supporters, you are not to blame. You're not to blame for the mistakes you made. You're not to blame for your failures. It's them. It's the minorities. It's the immigrants. It's fake news. It's a deep state.
It's a very compelling story. It's a really compelling story. How do you counter that story, Ralph?
Good men and women have to fight for this country in terms of being good citizens, in terms of voting and giving informed votes, and in terms of reaching out. You know, the core, some Trump supporters, the hardcore, you cannot reach them. But there are many people who voted for Trump because they so strongly disliked Mrs. Clinton. And there are people we can talk to. And I think, if anything, what we need to do is get past the personal vilification of somebody who didn't vote the way we did. To me, the far right and far left are interchangeable. And what's lost is the center. And most Americans are somewhere in the center, left of center, right or center. They're reasonable people, but they are being drowned out, and we're all helping. All the media is helping because we're so enthralled to Trump. Every tweet wipes out everything. Bridge collapse in Italy, crisis in Turkey, cities falling to the Taliban in Afghanistan. None of it matters. It's all Trump's tweets.
It does matter, but we do have to be careful not to let the tweets overwhelm us. I completely agree with you. We have to exercise editorial judgment. And I think journalists are better at that than we were 18 months ago, at knowing what tweets are newsworthy and which are distractions. Can I just ask you briefly about Brennan, though? I wanted to show Fox and MSNBC side by side, because you described Fox as a closed loop. Let's take a look at the two channels side by side.
So after years of serious misconduct, former CIA chief and Obama sycophant John Brennan can kiss his security clearance bye-bye.
This is a guy who you want to keep close to you, even if he's critical of the president. This is a guy who actually knows something about some of the biggest threats facing this country right now.
The fact that he got this far is astounding. I look forward to his book, because I know there will be one.
John Brennan is an American patriot.
And how did somebody so obviously limited intellectually get to be CIA director in the first place?
If you believe that this decision was made because of the president's duty to protect Americans, then I've got a bridge to sell you.
Ralph, do you think your former colleagues at Fox are proud of their performance?
The polite word is prostitutes. So we'll just leave it at that. I don't want to be the go-to guy for Fox bashing forever, but what Fox is doing is causing real harm to our country right now. And as for Brennan, look, I am not the world's biggest John Brennan fan, but yanking his clearance was wrong. It was wrong because that's not how we do things in this country. You know, as Jim Mattis observed, yes, we pull clearances for a lot of reasons, usually to do with bad behavior, danger that people could be susceptible to espionage overtures, people who are financially irresponsible. We never pull clearances for partisan political purposes. We don't do it. And so on this particular issue, I'm absolutely on Brennan's side. And it's encouraging to me to see so many people who wore uniforms for a long time come out, because military people are not political. We're conditioned not to be. But it's gotten so bad that now you do have generals and admirals and former intelligence chiefs speaking out because they recognize that, again, without hyperbole, that these times we're facing serious threats to our core institutions. When the Justice Department, when the FBI, when the intelligence agencies, when the courts are under attack, I mean, domestically, from our own president and his paladins, how can we not be alarmed if we care about this country in the least?